ready?
Santos.
Santos. Yeah, there we go. Let's get Santos in here. Santos. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here. We have a very, very special Scorpions HQ edition here today, and we are joined by Miss Marjorie Mazzei Raggo. Did I say that correctly?
Yes,
Thank you. Thank you. All the way from Brazil by way of the upper northeast, we'll say. And we're glad to have you here. We're excited. There's been a lot of effort put into this over the last several weeks, if not months. So thank you again for coming all the way down to Texas to join us. We're excited about it. And obviously, to my right over here, for those of you who are longtime listeners, is Schweggy, who goes by other names as well. And obviously, over here to my left, we've got Mr. Mike Garza. Awesome.
First time appearing
That's
on
right.
HQ.
Yeah.
Exactly. But longtime contributor and honestly one of the driving forces behind this. So we're really excited about that. So I want to go ahead and ask the first question here, and we're just going to turn this over to you. Thank you for coming down. And I know that your father, obviously, he played such an immense part in not only, North American Soccer League and the Cosmos, but he was instrumental in Pele's life too. Can you tell us a little bit about what that relationship with Pele meant to him?
There were two separate men, obviously, that connected in a way that it was father and son, brothers. Pele called my daddy, because that's how we called him. So he called him daddy. Called him professor because he taught him so many things. When it came to playing on the field, there were two separate people, but off the field they were inseparable.
Wow. I guess that's what's so interesting to me is, someone of Pele's stature to continue to learn throughout his career and to draw that inspiration from your father. To me, that's just amazing.
Yes, it was a special connection, and it started when my father went to do the physical conditioning for the Santos soccer team in '65, and Pele already had a name,
He was already a two-time World Cup winner
exactly.
by then. Wow.
So my father was excited to work with him. He was not intimidated, and he gained everybody's respect the way he treated the players right away as players, individuals, not a team. Everybody had their own training customized to them, to what their needs were, because some of them, their heads were somewhere else, some were expecting a baby. So my father went into each player and molded them to the way they best could perform. So he gained the respect of all the players because of that, especially Pele.
Wow.
That's pretty amazing. And was that when your father first was into soccer? Because I believe you mentioned before that he was very passionate about basketball.
Yes.
Even before soccer. So.
That was his passion. My father, ever since he was a boy, he was into sports. He wanted to do everything, not just soccer. And his whole dream, it was to do American sports. And obviously in Brazil, couldn't do baseball, you couldn't do football, so he picked basketball. That's the most American sport that he could pick. And he went to study and get his master's degree in phys ed at Michigan State. Okay. And that's where he zoned in on basketball. But then he went back to Brazil and he was coaching, he was refereeing, he loved to referee. He used to make these moves he became famous for, and
like those real animated baseball.
Exactly, yeah.
Or dramatic.
Yeah. And then my father started noticing that his players and his students, because he was still teaching, he was a professor, that they drove better cars than he did. And he's like, something's wrong with this picture. And the year that I was born, 1962, giving out my age, but it's important. 1962, he decided to change it up. So he started looking for a different job, and he found out that the soccer team Palmeiras was looking for a physical trainer, and he went for the interview, and they were very excited because they had heard about him and the way he was doing things. And my father and the man who interviewed him, I forget his name right now, but he said, "Well, Professor, how everybody called him Professor? How much money do you wanna make?" And at that time, let's say he was making $1,000 a month. My father said, "Well, I have no idea how much soccer pays."
Right.
So the guy says, "How about 20,000 a month?" And the face, my father made such a face that the man thought he was insulted. So he kept going. "How about 30,000?"
Sign me up.
And my father, even more of a face. "How about 40,000?" He goes, and it's like, okay. So,
I wish I could do that at my job.
yeah, and I kind of feel responsible because that's the year that I was born, and my father was making a lot of money. So because I was born, he's, we need to make money. So I feel like a little bit responsible that he went to soccer.
So in essence, you are the reason why Pele came to the United
Exactly.
States.
So it all comes back to Marjorie, actually.
Right, I like that.
You're welcome.
So a little bit of an introduction of how we were able to get Marjorie here. I was very blessed as a young man in the 80s as a competitive soccer player. I was selected by a fellow named Hubert Vogelsinger, who was one of the great coaches in the United States in those days. He traveled around all through the summer, and the camps were sort of an exclusive soccer camp for training for higher level players. And every year, usually around the wintertime, he would select three teams, like 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds, and 16-year-old teams to travel. And he would arrange it to where, 1 year it was in Europe, 1 year it was in Asia, 1 year it was in South America. And I was selected to go to South America, and we got to play top teams. The top teams from Brazil, Argentina, and Uruguay. So we played some of the great competition quality championship teams. We played Flamenco in Rio. We played Boca and Rio Plata in Argentina. A lot of teams, Corinthians, and really great teams. And we got to play in Santos. And I was the runt. I was the youngest and the smallest guy on the whole tour. And Professor Mazzei, who sort of was the host, the South American side, host, I guess he felt a kinship with the runt, and he let me.
He's kind-hearted.
He was very kind-hearted. He let me use Pele's locker at Santos when we were playing against Santos. Of course, we lost. We lost every game. We did tie. One game, and I think it was River Plate, which was fantastic. But I got to use Pele's locker, and so from the moment I realized, hey, this guy's nice guy, he let me use Pele's locker, I'm going to find out who he is, and learned a little bit more about him, and found out he was our host, and great guy. I didn't know anything about his relationship with Pele. I just thought he was the boss on the trip. And some pretty amazing memories of those days that I have today. And later in life, 5-6 years later, I'm flipping through this channels, and I'm watching some terrible soccer movie, and I see Professor Mazzei and Pele, and I'm like, Professor Mazzei really knows Pele. I didn't know. And so I thought that was kind of exciting, and I started, paying more attention at, when I was 14, I didn't pay much attention to anything. I was just an aggressive little soccer player, so. It was nice to have some experiences with Professor Mazzei, and he was a very kind and warm person, and he was very personable, and it was obvious that his intention was to see us have a great time. I don't think he cared as much about the wins or the losses like the other coaches may have been concerned about, but he was just wanting us to have this great experience. So we had an amazing time, and through the magic of Facebook, I many years later, I looked up Marjorie, and because I remembered his cute daughter from the trip.
And I want to ask you a question about his cute daughter, because rumor has it that maybe there was a little bit more of a connection on one of those trips.
Well,
Since I have
Let's hear
both
about
people
this,
here,
yeah.
I just-
Clear it up for
I'll
me.
clear it up.
Yeah.
Believe me, it's far more innocent than you're making it sound.
I don't know. I wasn't there. This is for the people.
I guess I was told when you're given the opportunity for the truth or the legend, always choose the legend. But I can't because
Yeah,
I'm here.
he's here.
She can deny.
So let's fall back on the truth.
The
here.
truth. The truth goes like this. I turned 14 while I was down there, and I was again the runt, smallest kid down there, and I guess Marjorie decided to make me feel a little bit better, so she came up, and on my birthday, in a big dining hall somewhere, I think it was in Embu.
Yes, São
in
Paulo.
the jungle, literally like the foothills of the Andes. We're hearing monkeys in the background, and we were having dinner, and I guess they were singing me happy birthday or something, and Marjorie came over and gave me a big old cheek kiss. Just a cheek
Nice,
kiss.
yes.
It was a little bit innocent. But
You walked a little taller that day.
I never forgot. And
Chest out.
many of my friends doubted, but I'm here to verify. Asking Marjorie to verify so that
Yes,
they know that I did not lie.
It happened.
I never forgot. So it was kind of funny to see Professor Mazzei on the television with Pele on that
Yes.
movie. I don't remember the name of the movie.
And I was in that movie too.
Now I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to
Yes.
find it.
So the movie Hot Shot had a terrible script, and I couldn't figure out why Pele wasn't involved, because some of the players that he knew were there. Shep Messing was there. So I said, why isn't Pele in this movie? And they started laughing at me. Pele in this movie, yeah, right. I'm like, no, he loves to act. He would do this movie. Really? You think he would do this movie? I say, yeah, I can get him. Yeah, I was just his assistant before this job. I can get him to be in the movie. So they called him and they worked it out. They rewrote the script, and he played a mentor role to this kid, coached him, and it was shot in Brazil. So they took it down there. So that it was really good. It changed the movie completely. It didn't turn out to be the most amazing movie, but it was a really cute story.
Very nice. So Marjorie changed it all up.
I changed it up.
It was actually cool that Pele played a mentor, because in some ways for him that must have been like playing your father, because he was.
When I watched the movie, because I wasn't able to go to Brazil to do the shoots there, but I got that feeling as well.
So about your father, another story that I think is worth mentioning. We were in Brazil. I think it was our third week. At the very end, I was going back home, maybe the next day or two, and we were in Rio, and we'd been, 3 teams, about 20 kids each team, roughly 60 kids, and we hadn't gone up to the famous, iconic image in Rio, the Christ the Redeemer up on the mountain, and I wanted to go really badly, and me and this other kid named Mario from Chicago, we were the only 2 that seemed to want to go. None of the other guys wanted to go. And I don't know why they wouldn't want to go, and I'm sure today they regret not having gone, but they didn't want to go. I think they all wanted to go look at the bikinis on the beach.
Probably.
I can't believe
And it was fun to do that too, but I did want to go to see Christ the Redeemer. And your father, unbelievable man that he was, he took the day, and I'm sure he had a very busy schedule, and he took the day and took me and Mario up there, and it was an amazing experience. And so again, in I guess retrospect, I always had the greatest and warmest of feelings for your dad, and I never forgot. And little did I know back then that he was this important. I mean, I figured he was important, but I didn't know to the extent. I didn't know that Pele said, "I'm not coming to New York unless Professor comes with me."
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? The fact that he played such an integral part of Pele's life that he wouldn't come to the U.S., wouldn't come and play for the Cosmos without your father.
Yes. Well, my father is not only a mentor, my father also played a big role in the business decisions, because at that time Pele had retired and he was getting offers from other teams, but Pele didn't want to play. He wanted to end his career playing for the Santos. He wanted to be known for playing for just one team. He had that set.
And those offers from teams, they were big.
They were big.
What were some of the other clubs that he had offers from?
I know Real Madrid and Lazio, and I heard Manchester United, but I'm not sure about that.
I'm not sure. I was too young to remember. But what the people that came calling were Americans, obviously, and they spoke English, and my father was, the only one that could translate. So my father helped negotiate the whole contract. They were in Pele's office for 3 days and 3 nights negotiating everything. They reached out to Pele a couple years before this even happened. It was at a friendly game in Jamaica, and they sent Clive Toy, who's the man who started the whole idea of reaching out to Pele from the Cosmos, and he came with 2 other men, and they talked to my dad because he was the only one that spoke English, and they called Pele in, and Pele was like, "No, thank you very much. No, I'm not interested." So Clive Toy and the 2 other men were very disappointed because they thought at least, and my father saw they were upset. He's like, "I'll talk to him. Let it settle in a little bit. Don't give up. Don't give up." And they didn't give up. They did not give up. And Pele had made a bad investment on a company, and because he was when they came claiming the money, Pele's name was the most famous, obviously. So they came after him for payment of this company that went bad as an investor. And he was in trouble as far as money. So that was another situation. My father's like, this would help. If you go to the United States, you're not going to have to play, the amazing soccer that you have been playing. This is a new game. These players are not in the level that you are. You don't have to put on a show every day. So
Even though he did most of the time.
he did.
He still did, definitely.
So I want to ask you, obviously, your father played a huge role in both Pele's life and in the world of the North American Soccer League. But you yourself, I understand, played a role in that as well.
I wanted to be part of the team somehow. I was tired of being on the sidelines, just doing nothing, just watching. It was amazing growing up on the sidelines. From day one that we came, I never knew too much about soccer. I just wanted to be in the middle of it. I knew my father was loved by everyone. And just to, imagine you as a little girl, not even, part of anything. Like if it was my brother, it was one thing. I was a little girl.
Right.
Watching this and seeing it unfold, being in a different country and knowing that we came here for a reason, is to bring soccer to America. And that didn't just stop on the field. They worked so hard, putting camps together, all these exhibitions to get people excited. And I wanted to be part of this somehow. I just didn't want to tag along. I wanted to do something. Right. And my entire life, I wanted to either be a professional dancer, a cheerleader, but in Brazil, there was no such thing. And so I kept asking my dad, "Can I be a Cosmos girl? Can I be a..." No, no.
He wouldn't allow you
And
at
at that
first,
time, they were very sexy shorts.
Sounds intriguing.
Yes, yeah. And no. Then when I was 19, I was already attending NYU, and I asked my dad one last time, "Can I please try out?" He goes, "All right, just do it." And I tried out, and I made the squad, and it was like unbelievable. So I became part of the team, and I was on the sideline for a reason now. It was pretty special, but you could tell that my father must have said something to the players because they would see me and they would just like make, like
Like they didn't see
yeah,
you?
like they would turn around. And I'm like, what the heck did my father say to this player?
No one wanted to ask out the coach's daughter.
No, no.
And actually, was he the coach at that time?
He was the coach. Yes, he was the coach, and he had just won the soccer bowl in '82.
You have something
I
of
do.
his.
Professor's jacket.
This is an amazing
Yes.
This
jacket
is a
right
piece
here.
of history here.
This is
Professor
something the
Mazzei
professor
is-
wore.
Is that the one he's wearing in that really cool shirt? I mean, a photograph. He's got a.
Yes, and he's hugging Pele. He's wearing this.
Yeah,
Which other
this is
one?
Oh,
it.
there was
Right here.
I've seen a few photos of your dad wearing some Cosmos gear, so I think that's in at least one or two of them.
Yes.
So-
I have a couple things left of him that I wanted to hand it down to my son, the football player, American football player.
Frankie, they just won. We were watching them earlier, so good job, Frankie.
Good job,
They
Frankie.
won.
Right,
Good
yeah.
job, Frankie. And
beat
by
the
the way,
hamster today.
he is playing American football,
Yes.
but he's the kicker.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Anderson will hold. Frank Raggo will be the kicker. Ball is down. Kick is up. Frank Raggo.
Kick is good. The final score, the University of Delaware 24, the College of William & Mary 23.
William and Mary tie.
We talked in the open, this team needed to get something from the improvement they have shown week in and week out. That silver lining, that piece of something positive to happen. It's great to see this team celebrate.
Yeah, no, I think it's I can say that even though I was a kid playing soccer at that time. I started younger, 6 or 7, but I didn't get into anything competitive until I was maybe 10 or 11 when I started to shine, and there was a little bit more development of the game in the United States, and all thanks to Professor Mazzei and to
Yes.
Pele, and so because there was some fever happening, I got to watch some games on television, some Cosmos games, and I got to see some amazing stuff watching soccer. And this was new. I mean, my dad was an enthusiastic sports fan, but he didn't know what soccer was, and so we kind of learned it together. And he became my coach at one time, and before I went to higher levels, and coached by more professional type coaches. But in the early days, we used to watch these films, these Pele films. And I mean, they were literally like 8mm or 16mm reel-to-reel footage with the loud clicking noise and the bright light bulb going and shooting through. And we would turn the lights off and watch this amazing like 70s production.
Yes, it's
with the crazy music and the slow motion weird like Bionic Man, special effects. And Pele is showing us how to juggle and showing us how to hit. And I'll never forget, he would say, your eyes are open, your mouth is closed, and you snap at the waist and you hit with your forehead. And Pele's, I'm just watching like I was the only kid in the room, like I was in the room,
speaking to you.
like he was speaking to me, and I assumed that many other kids felt the same way. But I was like watching these films, and I feel to this day as if Pele taught me how to play soccer because I watched these films. And I was telling Marjorie about this, and she had a pretty interesting little tidbit of information.
I was there again on the sidelines watching this huge production, American production, and it was unbelievable. There was this amazing writer Paul Gardner. Until today, I look up to him. who did an amazing job. Everybody did an amazing job. My brother was also involved in the movie. He was a gaffer, and when I watched this movie at the premiere, I knew right then and there that I wanted to be in film or television or something. So that movie changed my life. That documentary changed my life in that aspect.
Your father was involved too, wasn't he?
Yeah,
He
he did the whole. No, he did the whole circuit training for the video. He was, yeah.
So those films influenced me
Yeah.
and Marjorie.
Yes.
And I guess it was you had told me those were like filmed around maybe 1971.
No, it was after Pele had retired from the Santos and before he got the offer to come here.
So 74.
74, I would say,
74.
yeah.
And I probably watched them around 81, maybe for the first time.
Yeah.
So they weren't.
They're only slightly outdated.
They were only slightly outdated, but there was nothing better.
And it was so
There
well
was nothing
done.
I think a lot of people are still watching him today because I was
Yes.
talking to Billy Forbes about our own Billy Forbes, the forward for the Scorpions, and I had mentioned that I was watching this movie, and he was like, "Oh, that's a fantastic movie."
Yes, it
So
is.
I mean, current players are still watching it and learning from it. So.
And there are now on the internet different versions of it, like cut down versions. The original was just,
The best.
it won so many awards. It was a really, really
Well, they would show him doing a bicycle kick and all. I mean,
everything.
just to watch my hero, and it's as if the camera's right on him and he's talking right to me. It was incredible. So
Yeah.
I loved those, and I call them films because they were never played to me. It was never played to me in one consecutive,
Yes.
showing. It was maybe broke up. Maybe
Yes, it had-
maybe it was because of the
Yep.
limitations of the reel to reel. I
Yes.
don't know.
And we should name the title of it.
I don't know the title.
It's
No.
Pele, the Master and His Method.
There we
Oh,
go.
there he is.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's awesome.
See, Scorpions HQ always educating you.
Yeah, right.
YouTube hits are gonna increase.
Well,
Yeah.
I want to ask a question. Both of you mentioned obviously the effect that he had with these videos, but obviously Pele and the Cosmos and the effect that they had just on the popularity of the sport here in the States as a whole. Was your father aware of the impact that and the reach, I guess, that the Cosmos and the North American Soccer League had at that time?
Oh yes, it was obvious from day one that they went from a stadium that had 200 people, and as soon as Pele came, they filled that stadium, Randall's Island Stadium. So they knew right away there was an impact, and it just grew from there. And Pele did everything that he had to do. He didn't just play, and like I said, and went to do his thing. No, it was continuous off-season camps, traveling, and that helped it.
Wow.
And certainly in terms of attendance, I remember the Cosmos. They moved into, they played in Giant Stadium.
Yes,
Which was like
his last season.
70,000 plus, and they were
Yeah.
selling out Giant Stadium.
Yeah.
So,
Lesson at home for all of you boys and girls who get excited about the Sounders. This was 30 plus years ago, and they were packing at 70,000
Yeah,
strong.
exactly.
Yeah.
that's like,
And-
twice what the Sounders are getting now. So
And it helped that they had a company like Warner Communications.
Yes.
It made it was every game was a show.
Yes.
We had celebrities, the cheerleaders. We had Bugs Bunny as our mascot. We
Mick
had
Jagger.
TV.
Nick,
Mick
Mick
Jagger.
Mick Jagger
Jagger,
was
we
so
had
fun,
Barbara
yeah.
Streisand,
Babs.
Robert Redford, Muhammad Ali, Henry Kissinger, who, by the way, is the guy who really got us here.
that's what I read.
Yes.
Yeah.
can you tell us about that a little
Yes.
bit?
That's in Pele's book too. We talked
Yes.
about
What happened was Pele had finally decided to come, and the Brazilian president said, "No, you can't leave. You're a national treasure. We can't let you leave. No, sorry." So then the Cosmos people, what do? They call the big man, Steve Ross, the CEO of Warner Communications. He called his people, and somebody knew Henry Kissinger. Henry Kissinger was a huge soccer fan. Henry Kissinger called the Brazilian president and said, "You have to let him go. He'll be doing a huge service to our country. This is going to mean so much to American soccer, and
I think he said it will improve the status of Brazilian-American relations.
yes, obviously, yes. So then the Brazilian president called Pele and said, "You can go." So it was Henry Kissinger that.
The power of backroom
Yes,
politics.
yes.
Well, I remember Pele in his book, he talks about that moment when Henry Kissinger came to the locker room, and Pele recognized him right away. It was like, whoa, that's Henry Kissinger in the locker room. What's he doing there? Because at the time, Henry Kissinger was larger than life, at the time in American politics. So he was kind of taken aback by seeing someone like Kissinger. And then Pele saw Kissinger coming to him, and he was like, so they struck up a conversation, and Kissinger talked about, because I believe he played soccer when he grew up in Germany, and so he was a big soccer fan. And then Kissinger just said, you got to come, and Pele was very flattered that Henry Kissinger would you know.
So the Warner made sure that every game was worth watching, and it just went on from there.
And I'd like to say too, despite the fact that there was a little lull in the 80s after the NASL folded, and it took a while to get the MLS going, after the success of the World Cup, the U.S. World Cup in 1994, and the numbers got back up again, and people got excited about that again. But all the guys that were playing on the 94 World Cup team, the Alexi Lawlesses, the Tab Ramos, Marcelo Balboa, Thomas Dooley, all these guys that were great players in the early stages of American history, they were watching Pele when they were little boys.
Yes.
And in the mid to late 70s, early 80s, they were developing their game, and that probably wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Pele to come. So even though it took a little bit of time for soccer to take off, and it's not 100% taking off the way we would like it to, we're still getting 70, 80, 90,000 people at U.S. men and women national team matches. And I'm extremely proud of the fact that the U.S. men, they've not had a good run as of recently, not performed well, and we're upset about it. We're actually frustrated.
There's no apathy. People actually have emotions, and they're invested into it.
We expect that we will win, and that didn't happen until this last 10 or 15 years, and it's all because of the youth from the late 70s and the early 80s who put in their dues. They paid their dues, and they did all that again because of Professor Mazzei suggesting to Pele to come here. Don't go to Manchester United. Don't go to Lazio.
Yes.
Don't go to Real Madrid. Go to New York.
Yes.
Yeah, what's the line he said, I believe, to Pele?
Well, this was a Clive Toye, I think.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
But the idea is great. He said, if you go to Real Madrid, you'll win a championship.
Yeah.
If you go to America, you'll win a country.
Yep.
Wow.
And it's true. And now the U.S., we're not in the top 10, but we're certainly, I would say, a top 20 team. And we don't beat the best teams regularly, but we compete with them.
Correct.
And we couldn't do that in the 80s.
Yeah.
And I'm still grateful for Pele and your father deciding to come to the United States.
And don't forget, it's not soccer in America. It's not just the professional level. You got to look underneath what's happening with all these kids that are playing, and they got to go somewhere. And that's the future of American soccer.
Absolutely.
I can attest to that.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah.
So what would you think that if your father were still here with us, what would he say was his lasting legacy? Obviously, we know the connection, but I know that at the beginning of this conversation, we talked about his ability to connect with people, and the fact that he didn't really consider himself so much of a coach or a manager, but someone who learned how to connect and get the most out of people.
Yes, he was a very, very special man, and he was humble in everything that he did, everything that he took on, every job that he's ever had. He always went, a step above. He had a connection with these players that many of them still reach out to me, or if they see me, your father changed my life. He said this, and that, And you know, he told me to save my money. And right now I have a lot of it because your dad told me to save money. And you know, all these things that I hear from these people, and that's my dad's legacy. To hear how he changed people's life. He touched yours, you know, in a special way.
Small but special.
Small but special that you never forgot. And he did that pretty much with everybody that came in contact with him. And I'm very, very proud of that.
That must be very heartwarming for you, you know, to have a father that just cared so much, even for 2 kids, just to take 2 kids to the Christ Redeemer, you know.
Yes.
He was more than happy to do that.
And when my dad passed away from Alzheimer's, he had a long battle, 9 years, you know. It was very rough to see a man who had a life that he had and not be able to remember it. I remember going to see him. He didn't know who I was, but if he saw a picture of Pele, he would know. He would know. He would point, you know. So, and when he passed away, and he had been out of soccer for, you know, over 10 years, professionally even more. The outpour of press that he got, not only in Brazil, but here, from all the sports writers that loved him because he would stay after the game just to talk to each and every one of them because he knew the power of the press when it came to soccer. He had a vision. He knew exactly what he was doing. And the articles that they wrote about my dad after he passed, it was, you know, it was like a gift. And so that's his legacy right there.
Well, Marjorie, on behalf of Scorpions HQ, myself, Mike, Jeremy, and just soccer fans across not only the U.S. but the world, I want to thank you for taking time to share about you, about your father, about the legacy that he had with not only Pele, but just growing the game and growing people. It's a tremendous testament to who he was as a person, and I want to thank you so much again.
Thank you so much, guys, for having me. It's an honor and always a gift to be able to say anything about my dad.
Well,
thank you so
again.
much.
Honor's all ours.
That's
and,
right.
I also would like to say thank you to Paul Garrow.
Paul Garrow,
Yes,
thank
Paul.
you.
Hey, Paul,
Central
thank you.
Catholic, High School, who was gracious enough to let us film here.
Awesome.
And also, I am class of '90, so go Buttons. and I will take a kiss on the cheek too.
Oh, whoa, let's get this.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Perfect.
There it is.
Perfect.